Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. That was responsive. My God, for this time, if you are West Coast with us, it's, we're just getting going here. But I do want to welcome, yes, all of those of you who are in the room, those of you who are online watching this via the live stream, and those of you who are in the room but are still online because you're just about to put your devices down, aren't you? Because something really important is about to happen here. So drum roll, please, what's the deal? The deal is that a lot of us have been toiling away at DEI for many years. For me personally, it's around about the 25-year mark, one way or another. And what that means, I can say with certainty, is that we are gathered here today, people, to embrace a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Honestly, it is. And I would like you to compare that once-in-a-generation opportunity, for example, your opportunity now to scroll through your social media or answer your emails. Your emails are not a once-in-a-generation, they're a once-a-minute opportunity. And they will all be there the minute we finish. So put them to one side. That's the last time I'm going to ask. Thank you so much. What I would like to mention about the opportunity is the scale and the breadth of that opportunity we have. Now, I want to take you back to Christmas. Presents are going under the tree, though as a DEI executive, I do want to point out that 14 religious festivals take place during December. So, could have been any number of celebrations taking place. But a lot of people at that time, few months ago, were asking themselves, what presents can I give and what presents will I receive? Now, my favorite gift by far, tragically, actually, I'm not joking. My kids didn't give me anything. My favorite gift by far was the announcement that America is going to take bold, concerted action to create the first ever plan for equity in STEM. I think that deserves a round of applause, please. Like I said, it's the first of its kind initiative. It is called the STEMM Opportunity Alliance, SOA or SOA, and it is being led by the American Association for the Advancement of Science, or AAAS, with support from the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation. We'll hear from both of them shortly. And I'm thrilled also today that we get to welcome our keynote speaker from the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, Kei Kuzumi. And Kei is leading the federal government strategy. So it is so exciting to hear directly from the font of all knowledge, well, at least federal government knowledge, right? And that response that's being brought together focuses on 5 areas, which I just want to high level for everyone today: access, teaching, investment, culture, data. So access, ensure everyone can access and contribute to science and technology during their lives. Teaching, invest in the vital STEM teacher pipeline and ensure that pipeline is diverse. Invest in communities themselves, institutions, and people that have been historically excluded from STEM. Culture, address deep-rooted systemic bias that's led to the severe underrepresentation of certain groups in science and technology. And data and metrics, close the gap by creating shared DEI data standards. In doing that, you enhance transparency and you drive accountability. Now, I do want to say there is actually right here, right now, and not just in America, but around the world, a really incredible amount of good work going on, but we must get greater alignment to drive impact, greater alignment to drive impact. Now, what is that corporate gobbledygook? What does it mean? What it means is we've got to come together. We've got to step up and we've got to work harder. This is a code red, people, code red. And we'll only succeed if we take a systemic approach. That is what we outlined in the ACT report. I'm sorry, I'm burdening some of you with it on your laps here. Those of you online, you can check it out, actreport.com/PDF. Only took us 2 years of work, met every other week for over a year, and then created using the wisdom and knowledge of many DEI experts, and also those from beyond the world of DEI, to come up with a plan forward, a way forward for people who are honestly sometimes overwhelmed. And I don't blame them. Everyone can be overwhelmed. Oh, systemic racism, that's a tricky one. Oh, 5,000 years of patriarchy. Not sure I can sort that out by lunchtime. You know, it's tricky. And that's why the ACT report aims to set it out in as plain a term as we can. Now, it is a 160-page report. However, there are 2 little pages that summarize everything. I believe they're page 37, 38. As a politician, I like to have the 2-pager. But listen, there's one incredibly important point the ACT report highlights amongst everything else there. We all know it, but let me say it again. There is one system that impacts life chances more than any other, and that is the education system. Okay, and the greatest predictor of success in gaining a computer science, a CS degree, is exposure to some form of CS before age 14. Who gets access to any type of high quality CS education before age 14? It is only kids who live in affluent areas in America or go to private schools. That is it. There is all the research. If you want to see it, check out the ACT report, check out, you know, many other sources from people in this room and online. So if we want to improve equity and excellence in tech, we must make CS education available for all children, not just those touched by affluence. Just as science isn't just for future scientists, computer science isn't just for future tech workers or technologists. So, you know, what we do here will benefit everyone, not just those who end up going into the tech workforce. And let's remember that right now, AI, artificial intelligence, impacts our daily decisions and our life chances, from the content we watch, to which people get interviewed for jobs, to which type of healthcare we receive, or even the length of a jail sentence handed down. That's why teachers and students must understand how to use AI to help solve problems, how to build AI that doesn't entrench human bias. But despite the importance of that education, computer science education, most middle school and high school struggle to offer it on their curriculum to the next generation. Most of them fall at the first hurdle. They don't even have teachers who are trained in delivering computer science education. So I want to flag the Computer Science for All, CS for All. And in fact, we have Ruth Farmer here, who was leading it at the time, but CS for All and other organizations have set out to interrupt that system that locks all those people out at such a young age. Here at SNAP, we've set out to do our part by investing in a program that over time will train 1,000 teachers every year in CS. And this has been made possible by a $10 million endowment from SNAP. That's $5 million to Georgia State University, predominantly serving the African-American community, and $5 million to California State University, Dominguez Hills, predominantly serving the Hispanic community. Both those universities are represented here today. And I just want to spend, yay, yes, thank you, yay. Well, honestly, I promise you, you would clap if I just spent 2 minutes explaining what they're doing and what impacts they've already got. So at Georgia State University, GSU, over the past year, they have taught computer science to about 250 teachers. Remember, we're going to scale up as well, focusing on elementary teachers so that all students can learn CS. They're located in downtown Atlanta. Many of them they go back to schools that are primarily Black or African American, and over half of the teachers themselves are Black or African American, with 25% being African American women, one of the most underrepresented groups in CS today. Hallelujah. Thank you. And then at California State University, Dominguez Hills, CSUDH, SNAP's investment impacts over 600 undergraduate and 400 graduate students there at the College of Education, of which 50% are first generations college students, first in their family to go, and 87% are students of color. Additionally, they, no, wait, one sec. I know I'm speaking fast. I apologize. Always trying to fit too much in, but they have graduated over already in just the first year that we have funded them, over 100 in-service teachers from computer science. And as a result of that funding, they have become a statewide leader in the number of teachers they train and support to become highly qualified CS teachers. So overall, this $10 million investment, subtext, hello, anyone want to invest another 10 mil? We have got great things you can do with that money. But that $10 million investment has allowed each institution to create endowments. So this is going to be long-term, sustainable work in perpetuity. And I really, after saying how amazing it is, honestly, there are so many other incredible initiatives already underway. But what's missing? I'll tell you what's missing. Imagine how much further we could get if everyone involved with this was actually on the same page, actually had that alignment and could see what we were all doing so that we were all moving in the same direction, trying to, one of my favorite phrases, put more wood behind fewer arrows so that we finally hit the target. We keep missing it. Has anyone noticed in terms of DEI? So that's enough of what great work others are doing. Back to you and what you'll be doing here today. We are going to strategize on how America's first national plan for equity in STEM will actually roll out. It's going to be launched later this year. You're going to have it all explained to you in some detail. But I also hope, you know, as someone born quite a long way outside America, you might have noticed from the accent, I'm also looking forward to us incorporating and learning from best practice with other global efforts to increase equity in tech and science and beyond. After lunch here today, so I like to go from global domination to lunch, you know, but after lunch, we'll split out into breakout groups to discuss the detail of that national plan, the work groups, those breakout sessions. If you haven't chosen one, you will be asked to: workforce diversity, CS education, and an old favorite to set the day alight, data and metrics in terms of DEI. Woo! Yes, think of them as gifts to you. What gift do you want to receive, and what gift will you yourself return to us, to this initiative? We really are determined to up-level the country's response and to increase the equity that our children, and in fact, we hope, you know, from the tech industry and science, those templates that we can build will be used outside this country. So it is about improving equity and demonstrating that a multi-sector approach, a deeply collaborative approach can work. So thank you again so much. Those two questions I leave you with: how will you shape this first national plan for STEM equity? What gift will you give back to that plan? And now, I hand over with great pleasure to the CEO of the American Association of the Advancement of Science, AAAS, Sudip Parikh. Over to you.
All right, who do I get to complain about the fact that I got put on the agenda after Una? Thank you for that. And thank you for SNAP's commitment. And thank you for hosting all of us here in your wonderful facilities. And I'm going to talk more about putting your money where your mouth is, because that's what you all have been doing. I want to thank everybody for being here in support of the STEM Opportunity Alliance today. The thought leadership in this room, I mean, I can't get over it. Just the few conversations I've had this morning already have enlightened me about so much that is going on. And that's what this is all about. And you heard Una describe it much more eloquently than I'm going to, so I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to say that the idea that someone should have situational awareness about an amazing program that's going on, like the work at Georgia State or elsewhere, and then be able to add dollars to it and add dollars quickly and efficiently and have that align with what else is going on in the country. That is not a new idea, but frankly, there hasn't been a way to facilitate it. And that's what this is about. That's what the STEM Opportunity Alliance is about, because we didn't invent the idea that we're going to start working on this problem. We didn't work on, at AAAS, we've been working on it for 50 years. And a lot of that work has been led by Dr. Shirley Malcolm, who you're going to hear from later on today. When I want an applause line in a speech, I always just say Shirley Malcolm, and that gets me an applause line. That work's been going on, but here's the thing: we have made progress. We've made some progress, but there is so much more to be done, because we have a vision of what we want to see in the world, which is that we want a time when the child that is born here in America, anywhere, whether it's here in Los Angeles, the Central Valley of California, the Mississippi Delta, New York City, anywhere in this country, if they want to work in tech, if they want to work in medicine, if they want to work in science, they just naturally think it's their birthright to be able to do that. And they never have to think about the fact that there were people like Shirley or people like Una, people like the people in this room that had to work for them to get there, that it is their birthright to be able to work in that space. And that is the vision. And it is not beyond our reach. When I've seen the passion in rooms like this around the country, starting at Morgan State University, working our way through New York City, and now here in LA, I know it's possible. I know it's absolutely possible, because we're living in a golden age of science and technology. Don't let anybody tell you different. We know more about the universe than we've ever known. We're able to reach people across this world in milliseconds. And we're able to reach out not just in ways that are about information, but about emotion in milliseconds, thanks to places like SNAP. And it matters who is designing the algorithm. It matters who is designing the outputs and the inputs. I like to paraphrase our good friend Alondra Nelson at the White House, who left recently, but is in touch with Kay constantly, I'm sure, who said that not only does it matter, but in fact, it's pivotal. It's absolutely pivotal who is in charge of designing these things, who is in charge of ensuring that the outputs and the inputs are best for everybody. And so that's the vision that's at work here. And I want to tell you that as I watch this alliance come together, as I watch energy come together, when we were together at the White House in December of last year, and Una was there, we felt this energy in the room. When you came down the hallway, you felt vibration in the rafters. And that is not about a celebration yet. That is about the energy towards accomplishing this mission and this vision. And so I want to thank you all again for being here. We're going to work across sectors. And so we have wonderful partners like SNAP, who, like I said, have been putting their money where their mouth is. We have wonderful industry partners, academic partners, folks working in K-12, nonprofit partners. It is truly multi-sectoral. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take lining that up. And so the idea was that we would take the momentum that's been created, born out of tragedy, momentum that's been born out of tragedy, born out of the murder of George Floyd, taking that energy and saying, how do we ensure that this moment we don't let slip away, that this moment of energy we don't let slip away like so many others have? And how do you do that? You do that by institutionalizing it, by turning it into a plan of action. You do it by then sourcing and resourcing that plan. And so that's what we're doing step by step. And it's hard work. And frankly, it's long-term work. It's work that takes decades. It requires both urgency and resilience and long-term thinking. And that's what this alliance of organizations is about. And so I want to thank you all for being here, for being willing to work with us, to be willing to put your ideas and your creativity into this national strategy that we will roll out at the end of this process after meetings all around this great country. And you're right, Una, it will affect not just the country, but the world. It takes a small group of people to change the world. And this is a group that can do that, I know. So I want I do want to share one other thing with you, which is the genesis of this alliance, and that is I was on vacation with my family at Rehoboth Beach in Delaware, and I get this phone call from Sam Gill at the Doris Duke Foundation, and Sam says, you know, there's an opportunity here to gather momentum, to institutionalize that momentum. And I said, Sam, that's great. Can we talk in a week? And he's like, no, we need to talk now. This is the time. This is the time to do it. This is the time to get started. We shouldn't wait a week. And I want to tell you, you know, there are lots of folks who work in foundations. There are lots of folks who fund good activities around the world. But having strategic thinking and thinking about it in terms of how do we accomplish a goal, not just the metrics of getting grants out, not just the metrics of funding things, but rather the metrics of accomplishing something that puts us out of business. That takes vision and energy, and Sam Gill has that, and he's the one. I put this. I say this every time I introduce him, which is that this would not exist if it wasn't for his vision. And so I want to ask Sam to come up here and talk about Doris Duke's vision in this space. Sam.
Thank you very much, Sudip. I only call people on vacation to test the strength of their convictions. No, it's a really very generous introduction. And thank you for your leadership in this work. Una, thank you so much for your leadership. Una was a critical part of the launch of the STEM Opportunity Alliance. It has been such a powerful advocate on both sides of the Atlantic. And thank you to you and to SNAP for hosting us. And thank you all for being here. It's absolutely incredible to be in a room like this, having this conversation in this part of the world, part of the country. I just want to talk for a few minutes about to add to what Sudip and Una have said about the magnitude and singularity of this opportunity, and I think in particular what the sector represented in this room has to add to it. But then I also get the distinct pleasure of announcing some of the newest partners to the STEM Opportunity Alliance, a really tangible reminder of the momentum and power here. So Doris Duke Foundation is an independent endowment focused on supporting the well-being of people on the planet for a more creative, equitable, and sustainable future. We invest in quite an eclectic range of programs, including a major program to provide career support to physician scientists, so to clinical doctors who also do bench research. The reason we helped to found the STEM Opportunity Alliance, along with a range of other major funders of science, different domains, different sectors, is that we saw the problem of diversity in biomedicine both the same as the problem of diversity more broadly in other science enterprises and connected to that wider enterprise, that we were never going to have a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive biomedical research workforce if we didn't have a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive science enterprise. But I think Doris Duke herself also lends a perspective that I hope is useful to those of you who have been associated with the incredible accomplishments of the high technology and internet-enabled technology sector. Doris Duke was herself a lifelong philanthropist. She was an heiress whose life spanned most of the 20th century. And I always associate two words with Doris Duke: modern and transgressive. She was modern in the technical sense, in that she was always of her time. You could see that in her clothing. You can see that in the arts that she patronized. You can see that in her philanthropy. In the 1930s, she was funding Planned Parenthood. In the 1960s, she created the still largest archive of indigenous oral traditions in this country. In the 80s and 90s, she was funding sickle cell research and then AIDS research at a time when many of us wouldn't even talk about the kind of disease that HIV/AIDS was. And then she was transgressive in that she recognized that you have to break the rules in order to make change. She patronized Black artists when that was considered gauche in her social circles. She did things with her money, with her life, that many people looked down upon, and in so doing opened up incredible pathways of opportunity. I think there's no arguing that SNAP and the sector that it represents is also modern and transgressive. These are companies that have defined the modern world by seeing the way in which the internet was changing the rules of how people would interact with each other, with institutions, and with the wider society. And companies like SNAP saw an opportunity for value that others were missing, one that is fundamentally reshaped every moment of our lives, as we were reminded in the way that we associate with things like email. The culture that enabled this, that enables companies like Snap to see value where the old rules and old paradigms have not been able to see it, is powerful and positive. But it's also a culture that has become so deeply ingrained that some of its mantras, like move fast and break things, are now beginning to raise more troubling questions. There are some things that we don't want to break. We want there to be consensus around the truth and around facts. We want to be able to restrain rather than enable extremism. We want to foster social connection, not social anxiety and mental distress. We want competition and dynamism and innovation, not monopoly and stagnation. But there are some things that should be broken. And so I think at a time when we're asking good and important questions about the rules that we want to break and the rules that we don't want to break, and the values that we see as perennial and worth maintaining, and some of the values that we see as tyrannical and obsolete and antiquated, we should take a look at the things that are anachronistic. And there indeed are some things within technology and within the sectors that technology touches that are obdurately hidebound beyond their reasonable utility. And I think one of those, as Una and Sudip have so eloquently articulated, is the culture of science and the structure of science that has literally made no progress in the last half century in bringing more women and more people of color into science. Zero progress. So we need innovation. We need radical innovation to do better. We don't need reverence and piety. We need to be irreverent. We need to be impious. I think that STEM Opportunity Alliance is seeking to forge radical change, and it's seeking to do this in a few ways. First, as Una and Sudip have said, this is the first whole of enterprise approach to achieving equity within science that has not existed before. Second, as they've also articulated, this is really the first effort to develop a shared national strategy. We need shared goals, a shared agenda, and a shared set of approaches to bring together the diverse parts of the enterprise in order to achieve, in combination, systemic change. And third, on the basis of that, STEM Opportunity Alliance is going to be able to accelerate action. It's going to be able to build on this shared approach to launch things like new innovative partnerships, to scale the things that we know work, and in so doing, make equity within science and within STEM essential. And I think ultimately what is essential will become inevitable. I have the particular and distinct pleasure of celebrating some of the new partners who believe in the idea of what STEM Opportunity Alliance is and can represent and can achieve. And these partners join a coalition of over 100 organizations that are mobilizing over $1 billion to build and implement a shared national agenda for STEM equity. So who are these new partners? It's a great list. First, the American Museum of Natural History. If you're here, by the way, please raise your hand or let people know. Second, G-Code. Yes, all right. Third, the Gina Davis Institute for Gender and Media. All right, thank you. Fourth, Thermo Fisher Scientific. Here, oh, fantastic. And lastly, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Yeah. These partners, I think, are a perfect demonstration of the breadth of the STEM Opportunity Alliance and the potential power of collaboration. My closing thought before handing things back to Sudip to keep us moving today is that it is worth obviously acknowledging, and it's what occasioned the ACT report, that this sector of technology has not necessarily been a paragon of diversity. In some cases in who works in these organizations, in some cases in who these technologies serve. But that's not really a reason to be pessimistic, although it is a symptom of how intransigent this challenge and problem really is. I think it is a reason for those of us in this room to challenge ourselves to do better. I don't think the kind of innovation that companies like Snap have unleashed over the last 20 years is an illusion. I think it's real. We need to challenge that real spirit of innovation to something that's higher and nobler. I really appreciate you all joining us in this journey. I wish you an absolutely wonderful and productive day, and thank you for hosting STEM Opportunity Alliance. Sudip, back to you.